The SnackaChangi chips were quite successful, and people go, oh yeah, we just did chips, that was fine. But I didn't get the chance to do the chips until I did the beer, which I didn't have the chance to do until I did that show, and all the stuff that didn't matter to anyone. People lauding this and that, but the stuff I actually was trying to get recognised in is still yet to happen, if you know what I mean. And by default, it's almost getting recognised now, hence even talking about it. I didn't really ever felt like I fitted in. Everyone else was family, friends, knew each other, and this farm, especially Christchurch. I don't know any of that. I always felt like an outsider. When I first went to boarding school in Christchurch, about probably 10, and I didn't see my parents for a year. Wow. 2 hours late for the meeting because I went all the way to Wakachangi instead of then. And there's 6 people in the boardroom still waiting. And I said, you sure you don't want to reschedule? And they said, no, we'll do it. So an hour later I show up all sweaty and stuff. Sorry guys, I should have had a GoPro on my head. And I said, look, I'm thinking about doing nuts. And they went, oh, there's no real money in nuts. And I said, well, I don't really mean nuts. I was actually thinking chips. We do a thick one, we do a crinkle kind of ripple kind of one, and kettle fried kind of one. I said, yeah, I need that. Can you do all that to the one chip? It's just as much important to work out what you don't want to do as opposed to what you want to do. And I remember walking around, and most people would be better at this than me. I'm not living up to my father's expectation. I had other ambitions, but I didn't know what they were. But it was just not to be doing this. The advice I would give, and almost advice I need to take more now. Yeah. Like, I used to be very good at it, and I sort of touched on it earlier, is
Welcome back to Stand Up Again with myself, Sophie, and my husband, Nick Ratto. This is the show where we talk to people who've been knocked down by life and found a way to get back up. And today's guest is someone many New Zealanders will instantly recognise.
Absolutely. He is a fantastic actor, TV writer, comedian. You would have known him from his shows like Moon TV, Speedo Cops, The Late Night Big Breakfast, Wakachangi, SnackaChangi. He's got so many great things that New Zealanders know him for, and we're very lucky to have him here today. Can't wait to chat to Leigh Hart. The perceived highs looking outside, looking in, it's kind of so many things to choose from. You've come from like SportsCafe, Moon TV, then you've got
the Late Night Big Breakfast, radio, now
big time
podcast. Look, we're just
reeling out
different things that you hear.
But then the Wakachangi, SnackaChangi, all the different things, all these different businesses that you've had. Those are the perceived highs. That's what you sort of like look on the different websites and go, okay, that's what Leigh Hart is. But looking back over all of those things, what was the big thing for you? What was the thing that was like, oh, you know what, this was actually the moment I thought, it's actually pretty cool?
Because all those things you mentioned, it feels like one long slug to me, if you know what I mean. There was no point where that started or that started.
Right.
And if you want to use that bloody terrible term, but overnight success thing, it never happened. There was so many years where, put it this way, you talk about, say, the chips at the moment, the SnackaChangi chips are quite successful. Yeah. But I'll be saying, well, how about all the times when I was trying to do half-assed TV shows that no one was watching at 12 o'clock at night? I can see every one of those shows in the packet, if you know what I mean? Yeah. Like all that stuff. And people go, oh yeah, we just did chips, that was fine. Yeah. But I didn't get the chance to do the chips until I did the beer, which I didn't have the chance to do until I did that show, and all the stuff that didn't matter to anyone, and was basically pissed on by executives and this sort of stuff. So, so there was certainly a journey and a sense of, what's the word for it, not finally getting recognised for something. Because in the areas that I wanted to get recognised, I still don't think I have.
Really?
If you know what I mean.
Interesting.
And it's almost by default that, people are lauding this and that, but the stuff I actually was trying to get recognised in is still yet to happen, if you know what I mean. And by default, it's almost getting recognised now, hence even talking about it. Yeah. But no, it's interesting. It's
so
full
what
circle.
Would be your most proudest piece of work you've done?
See, that's it. I can't say, because I mean, there's certain stuff that I would put on like, hey, check this out, this clip. which
Yeah.
often, if you come round to my place, that's what I'll do. If you come for a dinner party, that's what I'll be doing.
We'll be watching it.
I'll put this on because it's got better production values, or it's more,
Right.
it looks more commercially like a Mysterious Planet show we did overseas kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the proudest stuff is probably even the earlier stuff,
Right.
which was the rawest and the most stupid, and there was no sort of appreciation for it. And even the people that were working on it for free with you were going, what the hell? If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have those moments, you wouldn't have had the rest. So it really is a sort of a continuous thing.
So tell me, when did you first sort of burst through, like, onto screen? Was it around mid-90s?
Well,
or?
No, even later, to
Was
be
it?
honest.
Yeah.
In the 90s, I was in a band.
Oh.
So I was trying to. So my voice got really bad today. I was trying to perform that way, trying to be, showing off that way.
What kind of, were you singer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Rod Stewart's a classic. I was. Yeah, we were in a band, originals and covers, and I used to write the songs, and God, we were funny. But there was a lot of comedy with that. If you're in a band, you talk to the guys that have been in bands.
Yeah.
If you take yourself that seriously, you're a real dick, because you realise that you can be at one gig one day and there'll be 1,000 people, and everyone's, oh God, you're so awesome. And he goes, the next day there's 3 people at the gig,
Yeah.
and 2 of them are putting the jukebox on, arguing what song to put on.
Yeah.
And so you have to have a sense of humour. So I think through the band, some form of performance, I quite enjoyed the comedy side of the band. Not that we were trying to be a comedy band,
No.
but by default you are one.
Yeah.
What was the name of the band?
Wild Turkey.
Wild Turkey.
Yeah, so we're Christchurch based, but we went over to France and
Oh,
Scotland, and we sort of went over there. Because I was, put it this way, our ego and confidence was probably 10 times bigger than our talent, which is what you
Was
want.
what you need.
Yeah, totally.
A microphone and talent.
We just had that much more talent would be, we wouldn't be doing this interview now, would we? But you sort of had to. So I convinced the other 2, let's go overseas, and well, this is kind of maybe full circle. What I didn't want to do was die wondering at 30, what the hell. I don't want to be one of those guys that looks at a band, a young guy, and I used to be in a band once. Oh, did you? But I gave it up because I got this job, whatever. I wanted to take it to its full thing.
Full potential.
And if it failed, I almost wanting it to fail.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly wasn't worried about it failing, because then I could put a line through it and go, cool, did that, now what,
I love that attitude, and I think it would really resonate for a lot of people who have sort of the fear of failure, or what if, and the doubts that sort of put you off a project, because it feels to me like, especially with your comedy, it was quite ahead of its time, a little bit niche, you could say, and so having that, you really backed yourself from the beginning, perhaps before others were, like you said, your crew who were there for free.
Oh, totally.
You're like, I back it, so let's do it.
As I say, it was not a fear of failure, it was a fear of what if, the mountains of instead,
regret
they call it, the regret of, I should have tried that. It doesn't matter if you want to be a chef or whatever, but if you didn't give it a go, you don't have the right to sit there and say, oh, I was pretty good, I could have done that.
Yeah.
Why didn't you then?
Yeah.
So once that's out of the way, you don't have, doesn't matter what you do, you can actually put all your energy into the next thing without sort of having this sort of, and that's kind of what it was.
I love that. I think that's really good. Where do you think that that's come from, though? Because your original story is not like in terms of the most Kiwi origin story of starting in Peru.
Yeah.
Where was, so
Yeah.
we want to know, how were you in Peru? Obviously, your parents were over there, but what were they doing over there?
well,
Are they from Peru?
Talk us through early days.
Are they Paddington Bear?
They're Incas. So
I was
born in Machu Picchu in 19.
I was getting the vibe.
No. So I'm originally from the West Coast, from Greymouth, and my parents both born over there.
Yeah.
And Dad was a coal miner.
Okay.
But when I was very young, he moved from coal mining into sort of more tunnelling sort of projects. So when I was about 2.5, 3 year old, we moved to Hong Kong. Lived there for a couple of years. So I've got my first memories Kodak memories really, because you got Super 8 footage of it.
Yeah.
Is kind of Hong Kong, going to kindergarten and stuff.
Really?
Hong Kong to Australia, to Melbourne. So I started school in Melbourne. Then the big one, they moved to Peru, and I was going to chuck years at you then, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, okay. I'm in my calculator.
Yeah.
You do the math. And so went to Peru, and that was, as I say, you talk about formative memories. I've got clearer memories of that than I kind of do of last year. And that's more to do with last year.
Interesting.
But, so we were, because it wasn't just Peru, we were living 13,000 feet in the Andes, higher than Mount Cook, for 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And this little school is like he was doing a massive tunnel project, through the Andes and irrigating the desert sort of thing. So we were sitting, that's what I grew up with. I didn't know who the All Blacks were. I didn't know anything about New Zealand cricket, nothing like that.
Wow.
I knew I was from New Zealand, but that's about it. I used to come back and visit my grandparents. But we were overseas. And it wasn't until I came back to New Zealand to boarding school, because education became a kind of thing, I suppose, because that was not going to happen there forever, that I got a concept of New Zealand. So if anything, you go back to your, almost the first question about the fear of failure. No, it was doing something different wasn't that unusual to me.
You had quite an unconventional kind of childhood, as you say. You weren't just,
Well, look, I found different anyway. I didn't. You could take this one way or the other. Like when I went to a boarding school in Christchurch, I only went there because I had aunts and uncles there. Could have been anywhere in the country. You didn't, got on well with other kids, but I didn't know. I didn't really ever felt like I fitted in,
right.
if you know what I mean. Like everyone else with family, friends knew each other, and this farm, especially Christchurch. I don't know any of that. I always felt like an outsider, but not in a negative way. I wasn't like...
woe is me.
Yeah, I'm isolated and alone. No.
What do you call them? Punch the monkey.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
I had to get that in. Rachel was in there. No, but
Yeah, we love Punch.
I wasn't like Punch.
Yeah.
I fitted in, but I always felt like an outsider. And so I was always, and I wasn't trying hard to fit in or anything. I had a weird accent because we grew up with all these other kids, and does he English or is he American? They couldn't work it out.
Yeah.
And then it got not worse, but my parents from there moved to Indonesia, then Malaysia, Sri Lanka. So every holiday would be going somewhere weird. Wow. And you've got to remember that when I first went to boarding school in Christchurch.
So very quickly, how old is it? 11 or 13 or?
I was about probably 10.
10.
Oh, wow.
10 or 11.
Wow.
And I didn't see my parents for a year. Wow. So they dropped me off. I remember Mum dropping me off.
Did they make you aware of that was happening, or was
we kind of knew, but that's what I mean. It was sort of, I'm not going to say it was different times because it makes you sound like some really old. It was just kind of how it was, and this is obviously, as you know, this is pre-internet, pre-anything. So literally, I remember Mum dropping my brother and I off. Then they have this weird thing, all these kids, and they ring a bell, and all the parents have to leave, and everyone starts hugging each other and screaming. It's like something out of a bloody
Hunger Games,
Sophie's Choice movie.
Yes.
It's kind of weird. Everyone, and then next thing I know, and you got to write letters once a week to your parents, and I remember literally thinking, because as I say, you're not having Zoom calls or. Literally, you forget what they look like. Then that's right, that's what they look like. Then you get a letter, whatever, and then a year later, it was just shy of a year, they came back, and you was allowed to go and see them for 2 nights or 1 night. Then you've got to go back in again. It was just really weird.
Yeah,
so different.
Yeah.
So as a 10-year-old, then that's I can only sort of relate to it in a certain way. Like, so I started comedy. In my comedy stand-up journey and things back when I was at school, and a lot was I grew up in Porirua, so I was pretty much the minority. So I was the white boy in the Māori Polynesian world, and I was quite small and tiny as well. And it got to the point where I was like, I'm not going to win anything by fighting, so comedy was kind of my way of fitting in. And when I started making people laugh, it was like. That was almost like my safety mechanism, but it also didn't let anyone in either. They couldn't really figure out what was going on, and so for you, do you think that was where your
did you become the entertainer in those years?
A little bit, but again, there was a bit of comedy aspect to it, class comedian kind of thing. But again, it was still music. I started playing drums, and because my father played drums, so I'm going to learn drums. He never taught me because he was overseas.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it to show him that I play drums.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a weird thing in a way. I'll show him.
Yeah.
I'll learn without him. And I got quite good at it, to be honest.
Yeah.
That was kind of my first instrument, and I liked the attention that gave me performing, the girls' school coming, and I was playing drums, and it's cool. But no, definitely was the class comedian thing, and I was at my parents the other day, and I found these old reports, and you read through, and one of them said, this is actually a high school one, because by that stage, I was trying to be. He goes, thinks he's the class comedian, gets a few laughs, but he wouldn't fill the town hall yet. And I mean, it's just quite a clever quote from the teacher.
That sounds like a critic of
You
nowadays.
should put that on your, promoting your new things.
But he's right, I haven't filled the town hall.
Yeah. So he's always, he was good at his job.
I was thinking, have you ever actually done stand-up, where you're up on a mic?
No, and this is an interesting one with me. I take my hat off people that do stand-up because
Me too.
I hide behind a kind of a veil of, I like to control the situations. I like to be, I can make my TV shows, if it's not funny, I'll make it funny. I'll make it, but it's not going out till it is funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So but having said that, I do live performance in other sense.
Yeah.
Nothing more of a kick than playing music live but to get up regularly, like yourself, and do that I'm kind of in awe of that, and I just stay away from it because, not saying I couldn't do it, but I mean, I used to, before The Voice turned into this, I used to do a lot of emceeing and speaking publicly. So in a sense, that's what you are doing. So because they wanted you to be the funny guy, so you speak for an hour, and it's supposed to be funny, but you're not doing a routine that says I'm starting now, and 8 minutes later I'm finishing, and everything's going to be funny in that time. It's more of a bit like the TV I made in a way. It's almost, if I'm emceeing or doing public speak, it's the worst speech you've ever heard. But that's why it's funny.
That's why it's
you go
funny.
through and you fall off whatever. It's an everything's been an anti-comedy kind of thing. Like late night big breakfast. It's the worst breakfast show you've ever seen. Everything goes wrong. Same with the stand-up. The closest I came to actually doing stand-up was taking the piss out of stand-up with this Chico comedian at the Classic. I got up as the worst comedian of all time who just did punchlines and no setup. Shoes. What's all that shit? Anyone got shoes? Yeah. Two of you? Cool, shoes.
You ever had those little cheese in the plastic, the slices? What's all that about? What's with that shit?
And it was so bad, eventually I started getting laughs, and I was trying to get them to stop laughing because the editing, we needed it to be really bad. But, so... I don't know. I've had no aspirations to stand up because I think there's so many people do it so well, and I'd prefer to. I like slightly more not the fabricated, but the production side of TV stuff, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think you would smash it anyway. I think whatever you would do, whether it be the attitude of I'll show them I can do it, or whether it would be trying to figure out your way of that, like the Chico comedian or stuff, I know that you would absolutely smash it.
Yeah, once you do it, you've just got to own it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, an example was I was thinking about this the other day. I was driving back through Wellsford, and there was this little hall there, and I remember looked at it, and I can't drive past that place without having this thought. I was invited up there to do an after dinner speech. Leigh Hart's going to after dinner speech in Wellsford at the community, so the whole country community was there, whatever. And I thought, God, I've been around a bit now. They probably just want to hear my real story, Peru, growing up in Peru, pretty amazing stuff, huh?
Very.
So I went up there and I just pretty much did chronological, and then I did this, and I was growing up in Peru, and everyone's like going... If you're going to make stuff up, it might as well be funnier than that. They were expecting me to be this wacky. They wanted everything to be surreal and bizarre. And I sort of learned a lesson that night. I think, you know what? That's what they want. That's what you give them in a way. Maybe now I could probably get away with it a bit more, but they still want you to be ridiculous, if you know what I mean. They didn't want to hear that. I'm not column aids. They don't really care. So... Yeah.
I want to talk to that as well, because I think that's a really difficult thing where the public persona, you are, well...
You're stepping forward more vulnerably, like, this is really who I am? This is Leigh Hart, really? But actually, the awkwardness, which you'd think would be more awkward, it goes down funnier, or, it gets the laugh.
That's why I always love opportunities like this, because you do get to explain sort of stuff, and the odd person will go, "Oh, I didn't even know that. That was interesting."
Yeah.
And you go, "Well, great.
Never asked.
I do have parents.
Yeah.
I do.
And it sounds like you've got a brother as well. You had a sibling.
I didn't just fall off a tree. But having said that, you do kind of learn that, to not take yourself that seriously, and who really cares. And if they get more of a kick out of you making a ridiculous story up, and they're going, "Was that true?" That's just as good, I think.
Oh, I think so. And I think I want to talk to that as well. You talked about your voice and how it's changed. And you had surgery on that?
Yeah, well...
So when did that happen?
Probably about 10 years ago now. It started to get... And I was doing a lot of speaking then. I was doing 2 or 3 things a week, doing TV. But I remember we were on the phone to my parents, and my father would say, "Oh, do you have a big night last night?" And which really annoyed me, because I probably had.
How did you know?
But I said, no. So I started thinking about it. Then I started listening to stuff, and it was getting bad. And then, speaking actually, I was about to go up and speak, and people would say, "Oh, yeah, we had a few last night. Do you smoke?" No. And it really so I started to lose confidence, literally. And then it became psychosomatic. So the more I thought about it, the worse it got.
Wow.
So I think it's called muscle tension dysphonia, which is basically, it feels like, it doesn't hurt, but it feels like someone's squeezing your throat, and you're trying to get your voice up. But, and it got to the stage where, so I stopped doing anything live, purely out of lack of confidence, really.
Wow.
Unless it's stuff I really had to do. It's kind of ironic. So all the high pain stuff I stopped doing, but I kept doing all the free stuff. I was going, it should be the other way around.
I was thinking that MC.
Because I always thought, they're going to want their money back. Sounds bad. So I'll end up doing all that stuff, but not that stuff. So, and then I said, okay, we'll have to sort this out. So I went and saw someone. We'll do it. What do? A couple of different times they put Botox, I think, into my vocal cords to fatten them up, or vice versa. And it didn't really work.
Okay.
And then that's when I started to do radio and stuff, actually. So I started getting really self-conscious then.
Yeah.
And then I think someone like Jeremy Wells, he actually once said, because I was always going on about it, just don't worry about it. It's unique. That's what people know now.
Yeah.
But I can tell now it's worse today than it actually would normally be.
Interesting.
So apologies for that.
No,
apologies.
But,
I was actually thinking your voice is iconic. It may not feel that if
it's too iconic.
It's too iconic. But when I think of you, I think of this incredible voice, this sound that really fills a room. I have this very thin voice, and in a bar, no one can hear me. But I feel your voice carries so much grounding and volume. So
well,
it's iconic.
Funny you should say that. Like in a bar situation, I like a loud situation. I kind of hate. So this is a controlled situation like this, I quite like. Again, the MC thing where there's 2 styles of MCing. One is, hey, this side of the room, hey, this side of the room, come on in. You can't do that. It's got to be, if that dinner, they've got to be all listening. You've got to have a microphone. So I'd be going, what kind of mic do they have? And they go, what do you care? So but in a party or something, I'd have to go. If I was having a chat, I'd have to go. Can we go outside? Because I was, I'd be yelling.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what was so annoying was the person I was talking to. That half the conversation would be about my voice as opposed to me asking them what they're up to. I'd leave it going, oh, bugger. Oh, no offense, this. What I mean is, it was a big part, because, as I say, I've stopped doing any. The amount of live stuff I do, I just don't really do.
Yeah, right. I was wondering, just with that, because, entertainers starting from singing, then using your voice, and now you're on a podcast as well. You've got a new podcast out, Paid to Talk.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be doing it now.
Okay.
Can we use some of this audio?
We'll use this and we'll copy paste. And so then I want to also ask, so your voice has been troubling you, and then Wakachangi, like I was thinking, is that the pivot that made you think of other areas?
No. It was similar timing when you think, but no, it was more of a case of that was you'd make a TV show back then. It sounds so long ago, but it was New Zealand then had funded TVNZ show. Okay, TV2, yes. Eventually, New Zealand had funding. 6 months later, you've made it. 6 months later, they actually might put it on, sitting in a drawer for 6 months. You can't really apply for new funding because that show hasn't gone to air yet. So it's just so frustrating. So you found you're at a limbo the whole time, and at someone else's mercy, you know.
Yes.
And I wasn't doing I couldn't go out there and do a release of creative energy. Then I go to the Wellington Sevens, and half the people are dressed up as Speedo cops and characters from the TV shows. And I'll be looking at it going, and not in a how can I monetize this kind of way, but how can I capitalize on the energy through the rest of the year? You know, do I do a serial magazine about this character, whatever? Because a TV show you just can't do every week, you know. So I thought, I don't know. I thought maybe I'll do a beer and then I'll make a silly label and somehow put that comedy into it. So I think I just did a Facebook post. Hey, think about doing a beer. Again, I call it Wakachangi because that was a silly word I came up with at a SportsCafe story. And back in those days, Facebook was probably a bit more reactive than it is now, and it just went ballistic. I said, oh shit, I have to now. You know, so that's one thing I've always done. If I'm in doubt, I'll sort of start it and just sort of blow that bridge up later and just see what happens. Oh shit, no, I've got to do it. Commit myself because otherwise you won't do anything. And it sort of went off. So I said, shit. So I started it, and then that went on into the chips and stuff.
I'm so fascinated with this because you're suddenly now a business owner of like a business of making beer and SnackaChangi chippies now.
Marketing,
but were you naturally good at that, or was there lots of mistakes along the way becoming this entrepreneur?
Well, less mistakes than you think because more mistakes now. Like in the beginning, there's no mistakes because you're just doing it naturally. You weren't thinking about it. I mean, if you went to marketing school, you would have actually done the opposite than what you did. But because of that, we just did, you know, this is the label, this is a silly name. If you focus group the name Wakachangi to a lot of people, they would say, what the hell is that? It's not going to work. But that we didn't do that, you know, so you just do the opposite. So there wasn't too much thought that went into it. I mean, I look back now and there's a few things I might have done differently, but everything kind of worked.
Was it kind of going back to that whole thing of if you're going to do something, that's the humour of it, it was going to be the worst version of that? Was there that, but this time you're actually trying?
There's a certain aspect, especially with the beer, of, I think this was the height of, you know, when craft beer was all coming out, which was all very, again, pretentious. And I don't mind that, that's all fine, but I thought it was very easy. It was an easy target to target, you know, because long story short, we got this beer made from the Harringtons in Christchurch originally. And I went down there with a couple of mates and my father actually, and he basically had all these beers that he was going to give us, and we had to pick which one we were going to put our label on, you know. And we narrowed it down to 3 of them out of these 5 or something, and there's about 6 of us there, cool. But we had quite a few beers. And we said, we'll take that one, number B3 or something, you know. And he went, yeah, okay, cool. And about a week later, I got an email from him saying, yeah, I've just told you, I've just made 10,000 litres of B4. I said, didn't we go with B3?
Oh, no.
And he goes, it's the same, doesn't matter. We said, I didn't really matter. And I said, well, what's that one then? He said, well, that's the other one you had. And he said, he goes, it's quite nice beer, he said. So on our label, it's got Wakachangi, quite nice beer. So that's it. I mean,
but I love that. Out of mistakes sometimes comes that amazing thing.
If someone else has a good line, just use it, you know, instead of trying to come up with because every other craft beer was going, we're going, look, it's just beer. It's quite nice. Drink it or don't drink it. We don't care. You know, make up your own mind. We're not here to sell it to you, you know, too much. So that was an example of something that's right in front of you. Just use it. Or if someone else comes up with a better line, just do it. You know,
great.
That's the ego. You have to be in a really safe spot or quite confident in yourself to let that happen. Because I think sometimes people would go, no, it's got to be mine, or I came up with the idea. Or I feel like that's
totally. And I suppose with the beer, look, there was no real risk because if it didn't work, we weren't really. It was not like I went and got shareholders investment company and there was 2 million and everyone. We went into debt, 5 million, build a brewery. No, I was just putting. It was if we could have press stop at any time and wouldn't have lost a cent kind of thing. It was just having a go. And maybe later on it got a little bit more invested, I suppose. But no, that was the way. And that's, if you start everything that way, you can't really go wrong.
Yeah.
I love that.
And sort of similar vibe with the SnackaChangi then as well, like in terms of, and when you say like it's an easy market to make fun of, like the fact that it's, you know, you put the vinegar in front of the salt.
That's the thing, you see. So the chips came about again from a similar comedy of errors. So making the beer, and you know, really all I was really doing was the marketing of it. So you can't just keep going, drink this beer, and you come up with a funny ad. It just gets a little bit repetitive.
Yes.
Everybody else was coming out with cans at this stage. By this stage, I was with Wakachangi Brewery in Nelson that were making it.
That's right.
They didn't have a canning line. They were still doing bottles. It's just frustrating. We're getting one next year.
Yeah.
So I just sort of was watching everyone else get ahead of us actually with cans and having fun with that. So it was a pure frustration. I remember sitting in the office with Brent, who you may have met, he does camera stuff with me.
Yeah.
He was working on something quite serious and getting stressed and editing, and I was going, I was like, I reckon we should do chips or nuts or something. What? You know, we should do, you know, call them, you know, Wakachangi chips. That was something to go with the beer. It'd be a good story.
Yeah.
Similar story. So I just sent an email out to a whole lot of chip companies and stuff, and Griffin's got back in touch, said, oh, yeah, come and see us, because there was a couple of guys in the office that had heard of the beer, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So we went in there, and actually, it's the most ridiculous. I was 2 hours late for the meeting because I went all the way to Wakachangi instead of then. And I said, and there's 6 people in the boardroom still waiting. And I said, you sure you don't want to reschedule? And they said, no, we'll do it. So an hour later, I show up, all sweaty and stuff. Sorry, guys. You know, it's just like a comedy show, you know. I should have had a GoPro on my head. And I was sitting there, and this is an example of not thinking it through too much, but I suppose maybe having you got to be able to pivot. I said, look, I'm thinking about doing nuts and doing something to go with the beer, you know, it's like spicy nuts kind of thing. They went, oh, there's no real money in nuts. And I said, well, I don't really mean nuts. I was actually thinking chips. So then they go,
don't say nuts.
and I'm sort of looking around the room, they've got all their brand, they go, what sort of chips do you want to do? And I went, well, what do you do now? They go, well, we do a thick one, as if I knew this. I said, we do a thick one, we do a crinkle cut, a ripple kind of one, and kettle fried kind of one. I said, yeah, I knew that. Can you do all that to the one chip? And they went, they literally look around the room at the other guy, and they were like, and he was going, maybe. You know, then this is an example how common sense is so much more important than, I suppose, the comedy side of it. Because they were expecting, as a comedian, for you to be wacky, the wacky guy. You know what I mean? It's only funny for me if it's just a slight twist, like you were saying before. Like, for example, they said, what flavors do you want to do? It's going to be beer flavored, is it? I was going, man, that sounds disgusting. What's your top flavors now? They said salt and vinegar, salted, barbecue. I said, well, let's do them. I said, okay. You know, that's that classic. Rather have a small share of the big market than a big share of the beer and bloody guinea pig flavored chips. You know, what's the point of that? You know, but as you say, the twist was, we're going to do salt and vinegar, but we'll flip it. We'll call it vinegar and salt. They said it could be done, but we put the vinegar in first. And that's all I really add to it. And then they did the chips and they did the hard part and whatever. So you kind of it's just adding a twist. Less is more, I suppose, to that kind of thing.
I think that's genius.
And I want to talk to that as well. Absolutely genius.
Delicious.
And they are the best chips. We were just away over the weekend.
We were camping. And
everyone's
got SnackaChangi.
The SnackaChangi, right?
No, good.
And so, but I want to talk to that as well. As a creative, having these ideas, coming up with this thing, being an hour late for the meeting, sweaty.
Well, that's not normal.
You know, these are top tips about how to get your dream product off the line. But there's a moment in that where it's not as if you don't care, because you definitely care. But it's when you are not beholden to the outcome. Sometimes that is when the magic happens, and you can pivot, and you can because if you'd have gone 100% nuts with that pitch, PowerPoint presentation, all that stuff,
because
it doesn't happen.
Wasn't that I wanted? What I was trying to do was, a concept that would help the beer and and
Yeah.
help me have another creative release. It's a bit like writing a column. And I wrote the stuff on the packs. It was just a way of doing stuff.
Yeah.
And they happened to be quite successful quite quickly. But if they hadn't been, that just would have been another thing that we tried, and we would have gone somewhere else with it.
And a story to tell at the pub with
Oh,
with
yeah,
your
oh,
mates
totally.
of, I tried chips once and
Yeah.
this is how it went, and that would be great.
And it could have been like this. Oh, yeah, hey, mate, I've tried your chips. Ah, shit, hey.
Yeah.
And I would have gone, yeah, hey, well, where are your chips?
Yeah.
But no, they happen to be quite good, and I'll go, shit, I'll take the credit for all that.
Yeah.
But it's,
Yeah.
it was never really the case. It's interesting now.
Yes.
Because it's slightly more developed. Griffins are slightly more involved.
Yeah.
I've got to be careful how I say it, but all of
I
a sudden
know.
I've kind of lost a little bit of the control of it.
Creative freedom, maybe, potentially.
Yeah, totally. I'm just trying to think of the best way of, and incredibly frustrating in a way because there's no rhyme or reason for that. Yet, it's just you just got to deal with that.
But this is, and I really like this about your attitude. And I sometimes the best stand up that I write is I'll craft stuff for months and it'll be word perfect. I'll pause here and then it'll just be crafted over a month and then it'll get like XYZ okay medium results. But the thing that I just occasionally would say in a real life story about something that happened with me or so for my children or just a real life situation, didn't even write it. It just happened to me and I just retold it in a storytelling way and quite, maybe a little bit frustrated in my face. And then that gets rounds of applause. It goes gangbusters.
Oh, totally.
TV execs will go, hey, we could do a whole thing about this. And you're like,
yeah.
okay. And then you try and go, okay, I'll just do more of those things.
Trying
that's
to recreate
fabricated.
the
And then it's
magic.
fabricated,
Yeah.
then we go in. But what I want to talk to you about here is that your TV shows have kind of been like that, where you've got this rough idea, and then you get the money in, and then you go, oh no, I've got the money now, I've got to make the show. Similar thing with the chip element and the beer element, but as a creative. Talk to the then going to people have put in money and they want to see a spreadsheet line. They want to see bang for their buck.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that and the frustrations? of that?
Worse and worse. In the beginning, you're like with TV, for example, because it's the same. I mean, the chips have been a thing, but TV is probably the one that I've had to deal with most and deal with third-party sort of people,
Network notes,
broadcaster.
that kind of thing,
So I got less and less. I'm not saying I got to a position where I could, but I certainly pretended I was in a position. I would be going, look, I'm making this TV show anyway, so do you want it or not? And they go, okay, shit, all right. And so you just go off and do it. I mean, the worst case was I remember I got funding once for a Moon TV series, and the one I made was nothing to do with the proposal I put in. I decided this is boring, let's just go overseas. So I took whatever budget, went overseas and turned it into like a travel show.
Yeah.
But they didn't really care as long as they got a show
Yeah.
that kind of worked. And I happened to, the executives there at the time said, there was a new executive started, the old one was there, and I remember him saying to her, just don't worry about it. Don't get involved. He will deliver something. It'll be fine. It'll stress you out. Just don't go there with him. Just do it, And I'm not saying I deserve that kind of stuff, but that was, I don't like it being, I like someone saying, no, third part's a bit long. Can you shorten it? Don't tell me how to shorten it. Don't tell me what gags worked, what didn't. I'll be the judge of that. And the same like with if it's a chip packet, don't. If it's not working, we'll fix it, but don't give me the solutions, If it's not funny, I'll be the judge of that, whatever, And in 2 years' time, you might find it is funny. You're just not getting it now,
Yeah.
And maybe in 5 years' time, I'll find some of the stuff funny. But, I'm still yet to with some of it. But, I wouldn't say I'm a control freak, but with TV, I kind of was, or still am, I suppose. I like to go away, make it, I don't like using recognizable actors all the time. It's got to feel real. It's got to feel tragic. Whether it's a fishing show or the breakfast show, it's got to feel. Are they real? Was that guest real? It's got to feel like you say, like a worst breakfast show ever or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a bit like an Alan Partridge type thing. It's got it's anti-comedy kind of vibe, but certainly, it's, in the early days, I was so into the editing, every look, that it's not quite funny. It's not, why isn't it funny? It probably wasn't that funny in the first place, but we're going to make it funny. We can make this funny. Trust, with the editing, the pacing, we can make it funny or make it work at least.
Yeah.
As opposed to, when you have a writer, a director, a producer, then an editor, they're all separate people. No one really cares.
Yeah.
The writer goes, wow, it was funny when I wrote it.
Yeah.
They've mucked it up, or the director will go, oh yeah, it was material, or the actors will, or that's not how I would have edited it.
No
if you're in control of all of it, it is your up, no matter what. And and I've always had that. So that's not everything I think was great, but at least it was either good or bad. It was my thing.
You owned it, and I want to talk. There's so many great things that are coming from this as well. I feel like you talked about when the voice thing happened, and I hate to go back to that, but you said talking about the confidence that you lost in the live speaking element, the projects that you're doing, and the conversations that you're having, and the people that you're dealing with, there has to be a level of confidence to get those things over the line. But then when you were going through those crises of confidence, how did you weather that? And also as well, I know there's a third question in there, there's a lot, but when people are seeing you on the street and they are wanting your photograph and saying good day and have a beer with me, when you're at that low confidence and you're in a beer, I don't want to actually chat, but you still have to live up to the expectation. How do you?
No, I've never had a problem with that, because that is the voice was more professional thing in the sense you're speaking. With TV, it was fine because I could
control the edit.
I could revoice that. It didn't sound good enough. Can I have another crack?
Yeah.
But we mentioned that voiceover thing we talked about earlier. Yeah. Like we go to a commercial studio where there's all these agency people there, and you've probably got 4 takes, and they're getting worse anyway. That's the sort of thing I like to do in my own time. I'll make it as good as I can make it sound. And if we're filming something again, I can do retakes, and afterwards I can pick up shots and make myself look better. I can go lose weight and come back and film. But you can make. I love that sort of control. The street stuff's totally fine because I'm totally at peace with that, and it's everyday people, and they might go, oh, you have a big night last night? Well, that's fine. I said, no. Or did you? You can just, it's sort of fine. And I remember bumping, I was with someone, a fellow comedian one night in Ponsonby, and we're having a few beers somewhere. And there's a lot of sort of photos going on, and blah, 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 selfies and stuff, and that was fine. It was, it was a witching hour, so 11 o'clock at night, and he was getting a few as well, kind of thing, and he was kind of not liking it, and blah, 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 and he kind of said, well, God, how do you deal with that? Must get annoying, and blah, 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 because he's getting noticeably annoyed with it. I was going, look, it's not that hard. You're not digging a ditch. You're not doing what my father did for a job. And trust me, it won't happen forever, and you'll be... in a few years, be going, God, hey,
remember me?
Exactly. So it could be worse, right?
Yeah. I was actually thinking that as we were walking through the city. I was thinking, as we were arriving here first, I thought, do you get a lot of people to stop you, or do you just get weird looks like?
No, yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said people taking photos or wanting to have a beer kind of thing. For some reason, I must have one of those faces that says, like I'm somehow their best mate and they want to have a beer. What idiot would you most like to have a beer with in New Zealand? It seems to come up.
Well, the reason why I say that is because we met up for one of your project ideas, and I won't say it out loud just because in case you want to still do it or not. But if someone else steals it,
I don't think anyone's going to steal that.
It was a New Zealand Star Trek. It was genius. think of the worst space traveling show that you could ever hear.
With really low budget.
Low budget.
It's sold.
The only idea Nick was going to wrote up all this stuff. The only bit I added to it was, I just find it very funny that we're in space and some guy's got Venetian blinds. Why don't Venetians work in space? It's just that,
It doesn't break out all the moonlight.
That's all I could get.
Yeah.
That's it.
The moonlight still keeps
Look,
creeping
it's
in.
a great ad. Look, keep it.
No, it's so good. But the idea was
Bubbling away in the
we'll be like walking around, but it would still be like Hamilton, but only like a couple of years further on.
For budget reasons, we're in the future, but 2.5 years in the future.
No hoverboards yet.
Yeah, it's just someone's opened up a new restaurant. Oh, Fat Lady's Arms is closed down, is it? Those are the things that we would notice. But it was the reason why I say that is because we were out having a beer, and then people would come over and say, "Do you want?" And we were writing, and we were clearly busy, but then you had to go away for like 15 minutes, have a beer, then come back.
Yeah,
Maybe they were plants, not too sure. But
yeah, that was my brother. No,
yeah.
No, it's a funny one because I'm really bad with names and faces. So you have a situation where people coming up all the time, but you just, I go, maybe I do know him, I don't. So you just assume you do, and you go, oh, yeah, mate, how you going? So that makes it worse because you come across as the most friendly guy
You can't.
to all these people you don't know. So
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I just say, everyone's a mate until proven otherwise.
It's easier with guys, right? Because you go, hey, g'day, mate. Whatever. With women, it's a lot harder because you go, oh, g'day, yeah. You can't go, g'day, mate.
Because even with a guy, you can say, when was the last time we saw each other? But you can't do that with a girl. Because it's like there was something else. That's quite rude on many angles.
With Nick being like, now I'm more doing radio, and it's like where we live in a little town, like people are starting to like look at him a little bit. So we're getting the looks. We're at the looks phase. Maybe, do we go to school together?
That's
we're at
what
that
I-
phase.
that's the level
But
I'm
you're in a, I'm going to have a beer with you.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm meeting the national treasure of New Zealand here.
Yeah.
But it's cool.
But as I say, I
But it's
don't
good that it
mind that
doesn't
side
bother
of it,
you.
and
Yeah.
that's what's the word for it? With the voice, that's good for your confidence. So you feel, it must be doing something right. But you know what it's like. It only takes one guy.
Yeah.
Online to go, did whatever. And you go, oh shit! Now you need another 20 people to say you're cool.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Not that you do, but it's. You're not trying to offend people.
Exactly. And so when you said something which is very interesting for me, where you said like you're not digging a ditch, and your dad was doing your dad was literally doing one of the hardest things in the world, away from his family, being
Down
having to make the call of like work versus children, family, boarding schools, all that very hard decisions. Now knowing you're a parent as So imagine being in that world, being faced with that, and knowing I'm going to have to make this decision. Do you think that having seen that coming through the other side of it, that is what your attitude is of this ain't going to last forever? I'm not digging a ditch. I don't have these very ridiculous, this hard decision of should it be vinegar before the salt? Versus.
Well, I think I got the best and the worst out of that situation. For example, I got maybe the work ethic side of it, where I, no matter how half-assed it was, I'd still be working really hard at it 3 a.m, and whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you're gonna do it well, even if it's something that's supposed to be
Yes.
just do that well.
Yes.
So I got that work ethic from them, but at the same time, they never expected me to do the same thing. They allowed me to go off and do this stuff, like not so much the TV stuff, because by that stage it was too late for them to have any influence. But in the early 90s, well, I'm going to do a rock and roll band. We're going to be famous. And I'm going, really? And they never judged. They said, yeah, go and do it. And so I wanted for nothing in that sense, not so much financially, but with support from them. It's amazing. Whereas when I know their background, literally, and how they grew up. So I've selfishly, with my kids, they're older now, like 20 and 18, university kind of thing, both born up here in Auckland, but I try to convince them that they're still from Greymouth. They've only been there once. There's nothing to do with them. But I'm selfishly trying to give their upbringing or the start of my upbringing to them, if you know what I mean, because all they've known is me as this TV person. I think for the first 15 years, they didn't know what the hell I did, and they're still a bit confused. What are you doing down here? And it's only now they're actually even discovering a lot of the TV stuff through their friends on TikTok,
YouTube,
sort of cannibalizing it here and there. They're going, oh shit, that was quite cool or not. But it certainly was what my father did. So the sort of old school Kiwi kind of, I don't know, grounded people, the very grounded people side of it, it was definitely my parents, you know, and hopefully that I've got that, and maybe that is a little bit of that so-called have a beer with them kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I've stolen it, I think, from my parents, you know, as much as I can, or osmosis, I've absorbed it, and I'm trying to pass on to them, as opposed to, you know, I'll be lying if I said, oh yeah, no, I was struggling when, you know, it's been very lucky in that way, you know.
I think it's really cool that, you know, what you've, you know, received from your parents is that hard work ethic.
Yeah.
They'll absorb that. Your kids will absorb that from you. But also what is so magical is that you can curate your own dream life. You can do the silly thing. You can back yourself. You can do the thing that no one else was really understanding just yet, and then they will. Like, to have that inspiration passed on to your kids, that's cool, because they're going to get the work ethic from you.
And I think also a sense of never, and you've never getting ahead of yourself. You never, you know, they've always been totally supportive, but not saying you are a big deal or anything, but they'll never let you be, oh, you're not that cool, you know, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be. No one is that. So likewise, my kids, you know, they'll pull you out and whatever, you know. And my parents, they're the most supportive people, especially as time goes by. They're starting to be more obvious about it, but back at, well, they were certainly very grounding in that way. It's just where they came from, and there's you know, everyone's the same, you know.
So they'll never sort of say, oh, you're going to be the greatest pop star or rock star or whatever, but they'll never say that you can't do it either.
Oh, totally.
So
you know, and they're probably more supportive without you knowing it. They'll talk to other people about it, but to you, they'll never, you know.
Yeah.
I remember in the band kind of thing, you know, we used to think we're pretty cool and that, and Mum would going, could you maybe do some more Cliff Richard stuff? It's not, you don't get it.
Yeah.
You're not the target demo. Mate.
Yeah.
But you're just a bit loud. Why don't you just, you know.
We're wild turkeys, Mum.
Yeah, we're
We're
wild
not.
turkey. We're supposed to drink bourbon.
Yeah.
Do you have to be drunk on stage? Do you have to do, nah, you know.
Yeah, we're not going on summer holidays, mate.
You know, when Greg, my brother in the band, when you chainsawed that amp up, was that necessary? No, it probably wasn't, you know.
Your dad's going to have to drill another hole to pay for that.
Exactly, you know. Yeah, literally, so he's, you know, so, they, of course, they're supportive, but more so than most parents, I'd say, you know. I think, you know, Dad was in bands back in the 60s. He's a drummer, you know, so he kind of got that side of it.
Did you ever feel like, going back to this thing of you never know, or you can't, what is the way that I want to phrase this? Your dad drilling the holes, doing that hard yakka, but really kind of wanting to be in the band. Did you ever feel that was like something that he'd let go, or that was like him?
No, I think that
he didn't fully
back
go
then,
for him.
I think the only opportunity they could have gone to Australia for some kind of thing, and half the band didn't want to go. They didn't, whatever. Yeah. So, and they were kind of a big deal on the West Coast back in the early '60s. This band. And,
what was his band name?
The Tremors.
The Tremors.
Yeah, they were really cool. They sort of used to play, you know, Beatles stuff and Shadows, instrumental. They're quite cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's, you know, I still got the same drum kit and all that sort of stuff. So I don't think, no, he was ambitious in other ways. He wanted to get out of the mine, but become a tunneler, which sounds similar, but it's very different. I mean, it's a lot more like an engineering side of it. So he was studying at night, doing night school, all sorts of stuff while we were kids, and getting this. So that was his ambition, and again, become the best at it. And he became the best in the world at it. And he worked on the Channel Tunnel. All those. He got me a job on that. Wow. So
you worked on the Channel Tunnel.
Yeah.
What was your role? What was your role?
Well, it's a lot of different jobs, but mainly I was pumping concrete into the roof.
Yeah.
As I look up here. So literally on this thing, and this machine goes forward, and then we pump concrete up there. It was ridiculous. But again, my brother was on it too, and he was probably better cut out for it. He probably could have stuck with it. Yeah. I was dreaming. I was wandering around and, you know, singing and going, oh, yeah, cool. And basically think about the things well, that's another thing. It doesn't matter what you do. It's just as much important to work out what you don't want to do as opposed to what you want to do. You know, and I remember walking around and, God, I'm okay at this, but I'm pretty mean, most people would be better at this than me. I'm not living up to my father's, expectation. Well, no, he didn't really see me working, but I had other ambitions, but I didn't know what they were. But it was just not to be doing this, and that's not to look at that as a bad job. It could be, I could be in a bank or whatever. Just know what you don't want to do. The rest will.
I think that's a really good
100%. And because my brother is a very successful vinyl layer and and worked in the trades, and I spent 2 weeks with him, and I just knew that I didn't want to do that. But then it was disappointing for him because he thought his younger brother was going to take on the reins. I did a concreting thing for about a couple of weeks in the school holidays. It's like, this is not for me. I worked as a computer business person for 6 months. And it was just all of these things, and I just remember thinking to myself, I don't want to do this. But there was no option, or there was no now I know what to do. Yeah. But that's okay.
No, but that'll find itself, because I didn't know what to do in TV. But in your game, I'd always argue and the more jobs, the more half-assed different life experience you do, always helps you on stage and to draw on a story or relate to people who are maybe in those jobs, as opposed to, dare I say it, the stand-up comedian that comes off at 16, the funniest guy in the class, and just says, I'm funny now from here to here. I'm going to say a whole lot of funny things. Whereas someone who's, you can tell they're drawing on something, like you said that story before, where people related, either go, okay, I get that. I know where he's coming from. So life experience, if nothing else, everything you do, successful or otherwise, is all adding to something down the track.
The layers.
It's been so great chatting to you, Leigh. It's been so good. Is there any other couple of questions before we wrap up?
What's next? Is there, you're doing your podcast now? Is there any exciting new chippy flavors or exciting projects?
Any meetings you're running late for?
Any meetings? 2 hours late?
No. What's next? Oh, look, I said this, I like to do a TV show every year, and I didn't do one last year. I thought I was going to do it, and it just got away on you. So I'd like to do something like that this year.
Great.
And it tends to have to be like some sort of travel thing now, because it's got a beginning and an end, which, kind of locks you into doing it, as opposed to how long's a piece of string. If you start now filming, you'd be going forever. So that if you go away for 6 weeks, at least you've done it. So do that. With the chips, there's new flavours coming out. We've got a new thing coming out in about October. That was where my frustrations were coming from. So I've got to be careful. But no, and that'll be fine. That was good. What else? How long you got?
This is good.
No, there's
lots of things.
It's kind of consolidating in a way, trying to with what's happening. But
we're doing one of the things from this show is we're doing we've got a book at the end of it. So basically what we're trying to do is do like a handbook that people can refer to. And so one of the things that we put in the book is ask our guests if they were to put down like one thing for someone like a creative or someone who is maybe in that job that they go, I know I don't want to do this, but I don't know what I want to do. What would be that advice? What would that be, that thing that you would just put down that book and just go, like what gets you through those difficult times?
I don't know if it's so much difficult times, but what I would say is the advice I would give, and almost advice I need to take more now. Like I used to be very good at it, and I sort of touched on it earlier, is if you have a good idea or a half good idea, spontaneously just do it. Don't procrastinate. Start it. I think I said, instead of cross that bridge, blow that bridge up later. Don't worry about it. If you start it, you're halfway there, and people expect you to feel, now we're doing it now. Whether it's starting in the chip brand or a TV show or go on a tour, just do it. And as I've got older, and I suppose I've been less able. I just don't do it as much. By the time I'll talk myself out of it before I've even started,
I think sometimes as well, because how much, once you're into something, that you do it. So I guess that with the energy that it requires to do a project.
But you sort of get to the stage, I think, where you kind of second, that's kind of funny, but it's not that funny. I'll think of something else. So you second guess it, but before you know it, half the I wasn't that funny when I started it, and if I applied what I do now I wouldn't have done any of it, because it was going, who's going to watch some guys running around in Speedos with cops? So it's not that funny.
Yeah.
It feels like a one gag kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And who would bother getting their mates together and actually filming that, and who would put them all in a bus and to go out there and do that, and it must be insane.
Yeah.
But
that first
especially
idea.
when you're younger and you've got the energy to just. But I think nowadays, I don't know, it's easier and harder.
Yeah.
With the fragmented media, I'm glad, it started when it was, because, you end up getting some sort of sense of a profile, because it was only everyone watched TV to a degree.
Yeah.
Now, how the hell do you even put it out there? You've got cameras galore. You've got better cameras than we had on TVNZ's show.
Yeah.
But the content's not there. It's just so throwaway now. Just it's on your phone, and you can film better stuff than we did. But the idea is not there, and even if it is really amazing, it's on a feed that just gets disappeared after. So I'd struggle now, I think, to. And I kind of do, even putting our stuff out. It's too much hard work. Full-time job, actually, just putting it on feeds.
Like uploading it.
Yeah. I mean,
totally.
it's a bit like saying back in the day, right? You did the TV show, you controlled it, you put it out there. It wasn't my job to build the TV set. And it sort of is now. You need to put the content. Now I'm going to be the service provider. I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to put a promo out next
You're
week.
the sound engineer, you're all of them.
And then it's going to be coming up next week. For God's sake.
And then you have to sit down with yourself and go through the statistics of the
what's
going well, what's not.
What's going on?
The harsh.
And second guess yourself, that was the worst. That had the most views. So let's do more of that. It's too. You just kind of second guess everything, and that's not my forte, unfortunately. So, and there's people far better at that than that. They should be doing that. So, I'd just say I'm lucky.
Yeah,
it's been so good to talk to you. My jaw is genuinely hurting now just from smiling and laughing along at all your stories. So thanks for coming
Thank
in.
you.
No, it's been really great, Leigh. Thank you so much, and thanks for coming in.
I'm so glad I got to meet Leigh Hart today, because he's that guy, and I got to meet him. I know you've collaborated before with him, but this is cool.
But he's an icon of New Zealand,
Yeah.
and I think next year it'll be 20 years that he's been on our screens in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think it's coming up to 30. He said that
96 through to
90.
carry the one.
Carry the one.
But,
do the maths.
but a long time, and you had to reposition, repivot, as you asked him. And what I like about Leigh's attitude, and he said it right up at the top, is that he needs to do something to a completion to know that, okay, I can at least, then my mind is clear of that.
Yeah, at least I gave it a go.
Yeah.
Rather than regret.
Yes, and I really like that attitude. I also like the attitude of the work ethic, but I also like the attitude of, if this is all that it is and I'm waiting on other people, then what can I do in the outside of that?
In the downtime, in the limbo,
when you're waiting, instead of waiting on other people to live your life, and to especially for creatives, I think that's really important. So I see and feel a lot of actors, they're just going to audition and they're waiting for that role, or they're waiting for that person to say yes, and I can't understand, I don't think I could live that life, how up and down that would be. As a comedian, you can at least go out there, create your own work, put on an hour, put on a show, but even then you're waiting on other people to give you stage time. So then therefore, for me personally, that's why I created it with my business partner Taryn, Laugh Club NZ, because then we could go and put on our own shows. And when I was younger, one of the city council initiatives, when I was about, I think I was about 19 or 18 at the time, was to get young youths out of gangs by teaching them how to snorkel.
Yeah, the waiting is hard. And, that project in a drawer that he referred to, that feeling. And even I've been sort of in this waiting limbo in the last sort of couple months or so. And I feel like I'm not just going to sit here twiddling my thumbs. I'm just actually going to do a load of creative projects. So, I mean, mostly around the house and different things, but it's like being productive with the downtime.
Yes.
I think is really important. Otherwise, you could just lose your mind to being at the mercy of someone else's timeline, budget, and everything. But
and it doesn't have to be in the TV world. It doesn't have to be in the whatever channel it is. It can be something different. So he even had a really great point with his with the crisps or the chippy potato chip empire, is that
you did the British, the Kiwi, and the American
and the American element of it.
Well done.
And so the reason being is that even the packaging is creative.
I love the packaging, the retro sort of, I don't know, comic book feel it's got, and even just the funny little comments,
the jokes in it,
the jokes within the packet.
Yeah.
And they, you know, when you're looking at, you know, to choose something, it's not just like a big primary color covering the whole thing. It's actually a little bit of art in itself, isn't it? There's ideas and inspiration written in there. Even I remember just like seeing there's always like a little bit of a story there, and then free range uncaged potatoes. Like, I love that. It's funny. You won't expect it from a packet of chippies, but the more you look, the more you see. And I think he is so strong with his ideas.
Yes.
And I think that usually that first idea, the initial idea, no matter how silly or crazy it is, follow it and just see where it goes is whether,
follow your intuition. We often second guess ourselves, especially when the confidence is low and things. And it's good to hear that he suffered it. He didn't go too deep into it, but he was more
I think courage for him of not wanting to have that feeling of, oh, well, I could have done that. I didn't. The regret won over having fear of it not going ahead or not being good. Like, I think having that courage over fear is so helpful in the mindset reframe where you go, look, I have no idea if this is going to be good but I think it's funny. Let's do it.
Oh, I agree. And I think, you know, I wonder how much that formative year when he was 10 and he was left behind by his parents, and he clearly had like a relationship, still has a relationship with his father and things like, you know, to bring him in onto the beer and the different aspects of his life, and the fact that they, you know, I'm going to be in this band, what should I do? You know, working with his dad in the Channel Tunnel for 2 years.
Channel Tunnel.
So he's a really tight relationship. So that for him would have been quite devastating, to be in this strange country, being by yourself as a 10-year-old, only seeing for 2 days, not really knowing what's happening, not really feeling like you're going to fit in. But then I think sometimes life can throw so many things at you where you can either buckle under it or you then rise above it and then go, actually,
this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I was, as you were saying all that, I was thinking, God, how would our 10-year-old manage in that situation? Actually, more about 8-year-old. But I was like thinking, like, that is resilience in itself. Just here you go. I remember I've got a friend who they're originally from England, moved to Switzerland and she was 3 or 4 and just dropped her in the kindy and like, off you go. No, not being able to speak the language. But now the absolute fluent French that my friend can speak from that moment, it's just part of a story.
And I think if you were to ask that 10-year-old or that 4-year-old friend of ours, you know, would you have coped? And I think even asking that question, of course you would have said no. Of course you would have said, no, I don't want to do that. Of course you don't want to have that really hard time in your life. You don't want it. But through the other side of it is often so many good things are from the other side of it, whether it's growth, whether it is something that is like, I just don't want to do that. And that is good.
I really actually love that, because I've often thought it's sometimes a really helpful tool to know, okay, I'm really clear on what I don't want. And I sometimes have compared it to like, you got to try on a few pair of shoes before you find a really good fit. And so, it's all part of it. So in those early formative years, you started going, oh, I've tried that. The conventional way maybe for some, but it just doesn't fit for who, you know, yourself or for Leigh in this instance. But I really enjoy that, to actually then discover what it is you are here for. And feeling from an outsider to feeling like he fits, you know, belongs and just found his sense, his calling. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, amazing. Really great guest.
And honestly, my jaw was so sore.
Yeah, it's
and
funny.
I was having tears in my eyes. I was like, This is weird. I'm like, maybe I should get a box of tissues. like I'm crying with laughter. He's so funny.
Yeah.
Naturally, he's a really great storyteller.
Yeah, he
Cool.
reminded me of my Uncle Murray a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see that. Anyway, that's a by the by. But
It's a bit of a tangent.
it's a very big tangent. But yeah, we'd love to know what you think of the
Yeah.
episode and what you guys got from it as well. We'll put our socials up now so you can get in contact, and what questions and what guests you want us to get on next. And yeah, would love to hear what you have done that you now know I don't want to do that anymore, because it'd be great to just even write that down and go across that list. So we'd love to hear that in the comments. But for now, thank you so much for watching Stand Up Again with Sophie and Nick Grado, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.